Dun, 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 dun.
Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I'm joined by my co-host, Super Blonde Nerd. This is Corinne, Super Blonde Nerd. How you doing?
Good, how are you? Hey nerds, what's up? This is Corinne, aka Super Blonde Nerd, coming at you with another live stream collab with SideGame LLC / Co.
Colorado. It's what we work with. SideGame LLC was apparently taken on Instagram already, so I guess we go with
Yeah,
SideGame Co. It's super
but
weird.
on your YouTube, you're LLC.
Yes.
Yeah,
So our
so
official title is LLC, but it's Co on Instagram because
mhm,
of Colorado.
yeah.
That's just where we're based at. Maybe future expansion, who knows? That'd be cool. Who knows? Maybe we become Side Game HI or Side Game
Oh,
TX or whatever, wherever we end up going.
oh man,
That'd be cool.
that would
All
be cool.
right. So if you have not met Super Blonde Nerd, if you have not seen Corinne's content, please go check her out. She is over here on YouTube. She is growing in subscriber count, which is awesome. I love to see her progress, putting out different types of vlogs, expansion reviews, board game content, just media in general. Very exciting things, very interesting and very different things with lots of unique takes as well as niche interests in just gaming nerddom in general. So really enjoy this. Corinne, what's something recently that you've really enjoyed making?
Well, it's funny because you mentioned the editing that I did for my recent vlog about visiting my sister. So that was just really fun to play around with kind of editing for just the day in the life and just giving guys updates. So I really do enjoy vlogging in that kind of sense, and being able to do editing a little different than how I've been doing my board game edits. There's just a way to edit board game content, and then there's a way to edit lifestyle content. So it's really fun to mess around with all the different creative ways you can make videos.
And it's cool to see those two ideas mix in a single video. In your
Yeah.
vlog, you had your board game overviews when you did
Mhm.
your cabin stay and just tried a bunch of different games. So I really enjoyed seeing the mix between these two worlds. So really
Yeah.
cool to see.
Yeah.
But today we are going to be doing a what we've been playing episode. So normally this is just a video I put out on the channel, but I reached out to Corinne and she's actually going to be joining me for the foreseeable future every other week talking about the games that we've been playing. So we get to see two different perspectives, two different approaches on games that we're either playing right now and want to give some good details on, or maybe want to give some not so good details. So I'm curious to see your
Mm.
take on some of these games, Corinne. Are you just excited? What would you give the general feeling you are about these games you've been playing recently?
Oh, all good things. Just
Excellent.
very enjoyable. Yeah.
Excellent. I've had a couple of really big hits this last week. I was making pros and cons lists and whatnot, and there were two games that I couldn't think of cons for, and that's really good sign. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like I have some neutrals, but I'm very excited to talk about a couple of these games. So
That's
without
awesome.
further ado, let's get started. Go ahead, Corinne. What's the first game that you want to talk about?
Excuse me. Well, if you saw on the thumbnail, me, my husband, my sister, and her husband have been obsessed with Lost Ruins of Arnak, however you pronounce that. It is my sister's game, so we've been going over there and playing it a ton. They have also the expansion with the different explorers, which have the different kind of starter decks, and they each have their own unique abilities, which helps you with the different aspects of the gameplay. So expedition leaders, yes. So it's been super fun playing. So we have, if for those who haven't played Arnak, it is a deck building worker placement game, very Indiana Jones Lost Temple kind of theming, and there's just so many fun things about this game. And one of the fun things is that the initial board is double-sided. And then there's also research tracks. There's the research tracks on the side. And with the expansions, you get an extra double-sided research track. So there are at least 4 different types of level of hardness for the game, because we were just playing last night. It was the Lizard Temple research track, and that one was super hard. We So with your worker placement and all that, you have like the main board where you want to discover, collect idols, defeat guardians, and all that. And then the research track is kind of like not a second game, but like a second goal that you want to do. Helps you achieve points. And for some of it, you have different resources that you use to pay to research. And I feel like the initial research tracks are a lot easier than the ones that come with the expedition leaders, which would make sense because it's just like, oh, you're familiar with Arnak. Let's make it a little harder, a little more challenging. Here are the different rewards you get for going up on the research track. And then the deck building is super fun. And again, with the expedition leaders, there's just different ways that you can go about your gameplay. I have played the Mystic, the Professor, and then I think it's the Heiress. It's the rich lady. So the Mystic was really cool because you get fear cards in your initial deck, and they are worth -1 points. But with fear and your Mystic, you can exile those cards to basically perform rituals, which is really cool. And then your fear cards do not penalize you at the end of the game.
That's super interesting. I really like just looking at the Mystics board. It's like 2 times as big as the others, so you got a
Yeah.
lot more going on than other players. And then I'm really enjoying. I think my favorite one I played so far is the Heiress. I love that concept of just being rich. You have an income. That's so cool. And every character has like those custom cards that also are included. And I think that really elevates the gameplay.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been really fun, and obviously we're going to keep playing because everyone wants to, at least try one time with their expedition leader and be able to, just figure out which one's their favorite. We have on the other side, we have this girl at the top. She has the like Indiana Jones hat. She is like our snacks girl. That's what we call her. I don't know what her actual title is. And you can save and use snacks to, I think, continue different actions. And then the guy with the map, he has a third player or a third little researcher worker that you can place out, which is really nice, because I've explained that in one of my videos that Arnak, you do not have an extra person, but there again are a lot of other ways that you can continue your gameplay without placing your worker somewhere. And the falconer, she's on the other side with the big bird, the falcon, the eagle, and you can use your falcon to it'll slowly go up the track, and you can keep it going all the way up. And if you don't use your falcon because it gives you like certain things, you'll get a reward. I think you get all the rewards. You choose one reward, and then it goes back to the bottom of the track, and then you can work it up again. So that's just really cool. So many different aspects of this game. Like even without the expedition leaders, it's super fun and super like challenging, but not super hard. But there's a lot of aspects of the game, and we all really enjoy it. So as you can see, I'm just blah, blah, blah about it. It's a very fun, unique. I love the spin of it for a worker placement deck building game for sure.
I think that this expansion is one of it's to me an expansion I don't think I'll ever play without. I love that it explores the different concepts of the game. It really fully flushes them. In the original, it seemed like an amalgamation of just a lot of things. Like here's a track here, and you're kind of doing it all. You kind of have to do it all because it's very good. Everything is good. The research track, you must do this. And the expedition leaders, though, I feel like even though you have a specific path to go down, you have a bit more freedom because you can actually explore that path a little bit more. And I like that feeling. I think that's really interesting to me. So expedition leaders is one I really enjoy playing with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this one? Is there a specific item or relic card that you really enjoy?
I got an item that we had never seen before. It was the army belt, and that was really cool. You get 3 options. You get to choose 2 of them. One, it's right there. Yeah, you -2 coins on an item purchase. You can draw a card, or you can I can't think of the word, like flip up
untap something.
Yeah,
unexhaust something.
Unexhaust your assistant, which is very helpful because that just gives you more free actions. Yeah, it's
super versatile.
That's a really good item. I thought that was really neat.
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
the flexibility here of
Yeah.
just the different items in general, and they work well with one of those assistants too, or one of the new expedition leaders. Which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely.
That's probably one of my
Infinite
favorite experiences in this game.
possibilities. Yeah. Yeah.
It's sweet. Oh, so cool. Excellent. So that is the Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Expedition Leaders. And that brings us to my first game that I want to discuss. And this is the one of the new hotnesses recently. This has just been delivered. This is Dead Reckoning, a card crafting game
Mm.
by John D. Clare, where you play as the captains of a bunch of pirates, and you'll be doing a 4X style as you're going to be going around different islands, populating them and plundering them for gold, controlling them, and hopefully sinking your different other players who are playing with you.
Nice.
So this game features solo mode all the way up to 4, and for my preferred player count, I do think that the 2 or 3 is actually my favorite. I was quite surprised at the 2-player count because it does work well, but I think the
Yeah.
3-player is the sweet spot with all of that different interaction and just how dynamic it can be with that much interaction in a 4X game. So the gameplay itself is extremely simple. On your turn, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to upgrade a card in your hand. You can do this at any point before your turn actually begins, and the cards look really neat. This is a card crafting game, so you're going to be starting with these cards with nothing, but as the game progresses, they may look like superheroes like this, which is super cool. So you're going to have a bunch of abilities, but normally you're going to start with only that bottom one, and this is a level 4 character. It starts at level 1 though, so generally it's only
Okay.
going to have maybe 1 or 2 symbols. So this is a pretty cool concept where you're able to, when you level up, you flip the card and then you rotate the card and then you flip it and then you rotate it again. And that shows the level up progression.
Huh.
So it's a
Okay.
tech tree almost where you're
Yeah.
moving up specific crew members. And so as you play, you're going to be trying to make these crew amazing. And I
That's
really
cool.
enjoy that of the game. Another cool thing is if you don't play the card you leveled up, you can actually wait a turn and level it up on your next turn. And I think that's a great strategic choice. You're giving that payoff of power. Another cool
Mhm.
thing are these advancements. Those are those upgrades you're going to be sliding in. As you play the game, you're going to be purchasing them. At the end of your turn, you'll slap them onto the cards you've played. So to actually increase the abilities of the cards, you have to actually play them. So such an interesting choice here where I keep it to level it up or I play it, but I may want to play it just for the symbols and be active on the board. So great choices when it comes to the leveling up system.
That's cool.
So after you've decided which card you want to level up, then you go straight into the action phase. This is where you're going to be taking your ship, which has room for different upgrades and it has cargo holes. You will be able to set your sails, which gets you movement points, and then you'll sail around the board interacting with different things. So you can use your cannons to attack, which uses this giant board here. You'll be dropping these cubes into said board, and where
Oh,
those cubes
nice.
land, this can get you a lot of stuff. And this is one of my neutrals for the game is the combat. I do think
Okay.
it's really interesting. I think combat is really bountiful because if you go and fight someone, you're not just fighting to get a victory in. There's like a win condition for that, but there's also you can just score straight up points and resources by attacking people. Think of it as the different pieces and carnage of the ship that have been fallen off as you're blasting holes into it, so you can pick up stuff. So if you go into a fight empty, completely empty, and you just don't even win. You don't even have to win. You can score a bunch of points, a bunch of resources. There's these barrel resources they're going to get quite often. And so attacking is pretty useful. You're going to get all these resources and they go straight onto your ship, which means that you can use them right away to interact with the board. Normally you have to go back to your harbor, so it's kind of annoying to go pick up all your resources from home. But I do like this concept that the battle is this cool thing, this cool event. Everybody stops and like, oh, the battle's happening, and then you drop the
Yeah.
cubes. And that's one of my neutrals, and that actually leads me to one of my negatives for this game is it's slow. This game is very slow.
Yeah.
The combat, everybody halts. You drop the cubes. You got to read them. You look at them. People have abilities or they can drop. You go back and forth. It does screech the game a bit, which I find
Mm.
unfortunate because the rest of the game is pretty fast. The other thing though is when you play in general, the downtime on your turn can be big because some people can just have
Mm.
big turns. They may have a turn where they draw all their people and you're sitting there for a long time, and the more people just exacerbates this problem. This is the similar thing in games like Western Legends, in games like Merchants and Marauders, where there's a lot of open space for people to explore and do a variety of things and random events. And if you put the sagas like story you have to read, you can feel like it's a really long time between your turn.
Yeah.
And it is. And you are doing some things between your turn because you can do that upgrade. But most of the time you are doing this activity. So that's one of the biggest negatives here. So after you have sailed and moved, then you have options to sleeve those advancements. But really, you're racing for these end game conditions, which are in the form of these objectives that are at the top of a board. And based on how well you do on these objectives, you're racing to 4, similar to something like Scythe. Then you get to place out these markers, these control
Mm.
markers on them, and they're just worth extra points at the end. So I really like this objective system. It gives goals for you to take immediately, and then you also can choose a variety of goals. So it's not you're not focused down one specific path.
Yeah.
Very similar to Scythe again. There are some that are probably just going to happen. You're probably going to sink someone's ship at least once during the game.
Sure.
You're probably going to get some levels up. You're probably going to get extra money in your chest. These things are probably just going to happen. So they're more of timers and objectives, really. But I do like that there are some other options. You can put out strongholds on these things you control. You can just generate a bunch of resources. So you had some cool choices when it comes to that. Have you heard anything about this game, Corinne?
I have not.
Hmm.
It's very cool. I mean, I love pirates, so this is very fun and intriguing. I do like that there's similarities. I love that board of the ships. That's interactive,
Mhm.
super fun. Yeah, of just like the different, it's always much more fun to be able to achieve different goals throughout. So you can kind of have the similar gameplay, but then be like, oh no, I'm going this route, kind of like what we were talking about with Lost Ruins of Arnak,
Mhm.
like being able to go the different routes. I love these little ship miniatures. Yeah.
Ours are definitely not painted, but they are cute. Just want to give you a shot of some of the island boards.
Yeah.
Hmm. So
Yeah, I
another,
think
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the combat is interesting that it's like kind of random.
Hmm.
Like you're kind of up to chance. So that's an interesting where it can't be like super strategic.
The combat is the equivalent of rolling like a 12-sided die.
Yeah.
Um, but some of the faces would be bigger than others. But it does have this cool spatial element where if you drop the cubes and you see that they're in a specific way, you can optionally not use your battle effects because some battle effects are like drop 2 more cubes. If you drop 2 more cubes, you may hit some of your cubes that are already
Okay.
there. And that would suck. So you're like, do I even want to risk it?
Right.
Because I could lose my position. But you're also like, oh man, I got this ability. I should use it. So it's
Hmm.
up to you if you want to use that. And I think that's kind of interesting. But once again,
Yeah,
that does add to that downtime. But I do think it's interesting and exciting.
that's cool.
My last big positive here are the area control. Actually, surprisingly, I really enjoy the area control. I think it's done really well in this game. And the way it works is whenever you sail to one of these islands, there's
Mhm,
spaces for cubes. And so
mhm.
if you have more cubes than there are empty cubes, then you control the island. And every time you
Mm.
control an island, you put an infinite cube by it. This is a
Oh,
permanent cube that can never be removed, so it makes it harder for all the other players to actually take it over again. So it gives you some incentive to leave the island because if you come
mhm,
back, it could be easier to take it over. But you can also, once you own an island, fortify it, give it protections, or give it extra buildings in order to produce more things, which is another great choice. Do you focus on just a protection and go conquer as many islands, or do you use one as more of a central hub that you're producing on constantly, just chilling out at? But the biggest function, and the thing I really love about island control, is if you own an island, whenever you're there, you can dump your goods on that island. Go around, do things,
nice.
load up your sails again, get extra movement points, and then take all those items and put them back on your ship. This is a key factor that's going to give you control and like some advanced that are further away from the harbor. What a great concept. And I think it's done so well. And the last cherry on the top here is that on your turn, whenever you end your turn, you're going to be putting a sail onto one of your ships to mark that you're in pirate mode. And if you're in pirate mode on a place you control, then no one is allowed to interact with that place until they defeat you in combat. This is great because not
Ooh.
only can you build fortifications, but your ship is the biggest fortification. So cool. What a great idea. I love this. I think it's done extremely well, the area
Yeah,
control here.
that's really cool. That's a great yeah, the people who made this is like, yep, pirates. They understand the concept.
It's awesome. Now, the last point that I want to make is one more con on this game, and that has
Okay.
to do with probably my least favorite part of the entire game is that some of the cards that you're actually building are just flat out uninteresting, which is unfortunate.
Oh.
You're gonna have a deck of, I believe it's 12 cards, and they're all
Mhm,
crew members. You'll have your bosun, which can help with the construction of your ship, and then you'll have your captain, which can do some fighting, and then has symbols that can trigger the abilities of other things. But I think about 4 or 5 of the cards in your deck are just crew. And the crew, when you play them, they produce a barrel. If you upgrade them,
yeah.
they produce 2 barrels. And they
Ooh.
also get to, you can spend 2 barrels to heal, but you can only do
Mm.
that when you're at the harbor. So this, to me, is probably the most uninteresting line of play. You're not doing anything active. The resources are nice, but they show up at your harbor, so you have to go back and get them. So it's pretty annoying. And I don't think anybody would look at their hand and say, "Ooh, I could upgrade my gunner, my captain, but I'm going to upgrade this crew member right here." So a lot
Right.
of times you're going to get these crew, and they're just not exciting. They're uninteresting, and you pretty much never upgrade them. But they're also, and that harbor requirement to heal is just, it's just a restriction that I don't think should be there. I feel
Mhm.
like if you have the stuff with you, you should be able to patch it up there. Yes.
Yeah.
But I guess this gives you another reason to come back to harbor. So it's there just to make sure that people are moving often.
Do they have an expansion for this?
So the game came with 2 saga expansions as well
Okay.
as a crew expansion. So the crew expansion is really interesting. It's going to change the basic abilities of a lot of your different members on the ship.
Yeah.
And then the saga expansion adds a story mode similar to Maracaibo or the Space Base expansion, the Shy
Mhm.
Pluto, where it gives you piecemeal expansion content. You're
Okay.
exploring new cards, and then you'll have like an event book that you'll read and something will happen. It's cool. I really like the story expansion actually. It does add to the downtime of the game, so that is something to be aware of. If you are
Mhm.
already having trouble with it, don't play with it
Mhm.
because it is going to speed it up because you're going to have to break and read stuff and find things and switch out people's cards for other things. So if that's something that you're experiencing, I don't recommend it. But if everybody is pretty on it on their turns, then this will be a really good experience because you
Yeah.
should be constantly engaged. But if one person does have trouble, it's going to bog down that game, and it's pretty frustrating. And this can even happen at the 2-player count. If somebody is taking forever and you're just lightning fast, it's pretty unfortunate. And you
Yeah.
can be lightning fast because a lot of the iconography is similar on these cards. You have like draw a card symbols that don't do anything
Mhm.
else. They react on their card, but as you gain them, you're learning the abilities. You're pretty familiar with them because they'll start with that basic weaker ability. So interesting game. It's not my favorite game in the world, but it is cool. I think it's done really well. This is a great card crafting system. I think it's my favorite card crafting game, period. I think it's my favorite one.
Nice.
Have you played any card crafting games like this where you're sliding in those transparencies?
The only one that I can think of, it's not even like, I mean, just thinking of Canvas,
Yeah, that's
but
totally a card crafting game.
yeah, that's like the only one that I can think of right now.
Hmm.
Mainly,
So there's
mainly
also
deck
like
building, not card crafting. So
there's Edge
it's
of
interesting.
Darkness.
Mhm.
There's Mystic Veil is a popular one that was,
Okay,
I think, one of the biggest ones that took off. Custom
nice,
Heroes it's like a trick taking game where you're doing card crafting. That's kind of neat.
nice.
So
Yeah,
you got some
they
good
sound
variety.
awesome. Yeah.
Good stuff. So that is Dead Reckoning. We got a question from John Franklin here. Do the ships ever go derelict? No, they do not. They just sink. I guess the designer didn't want people just floating out at sea. And yeah, that's excellent. All right. So we go on to our next portion. Corinne, what's our next game we're talking about?
So this one I talked about it in my vlog that we had just discussed where I did some game overviews and I wanted this for my birthday and it's called Dream Home and
Hmm.
it's in a very adorable, I don't know if it would be tableau building because you all have these houses and you have a main like game board where you have pairs of cards that you can take and each pair of cards has a room for your house and then either a roof tile, a tool, a decor item, or a helper. And you get to choose like which ones that you take and you get to design your home. Your home is based on functionality as well as what room types you choose. So you get bonus points if your house has like a bathroom on the upper 2 floors. You get bonus points. You can expand your rooms by placing the same type of rooms next to each other. So, for instance, that living room that you see in the red, it has those icons of how many times that you can expand your room. So, the living room can be expanded 3 times, has to be horizontal to next to it. A kitchen can be expanded twice, same with bedroom. Bathrooms are usually by themselves. Um, there's very cute design. The roof tiles, if you have the same colored roof tiles and 4 of them make a roof, you get extra points for that. You have basement cards, and then there's a lot of like extra little uh, different types of rooms, like a library, a game room, a study. So there's a lot of different, just very cute, if you like interior design at all, or just like plain house. It's a very cute, uh, slightly strategic game, which is really nice. Um, oh, it looks like they have a car. We do not have a car in our because there's
There's a
decor
garage. They
items.
have a garage expansion. What?
Yeah, well, no, the garage comes with the game that we have, but there are certain decor items that you can also get, which you can
Hmm.
see like right there with the little bed, the canopy bed.
Ah,
Those add extra points, but you can only place the decor items in their corresponding rooms. So it will tell you when you draw a card, and
you
then you
can't
place.
put a treehouse in your living room.
No,
What
you
is this
cannot.
injustice? This is not my dream home.
Exactly. So it takes the realism of making your house, but making it like very cutesy and very easy. It's a very easy to pick up kind of game. I've really enjoyed it, and again, like I've been talking about, we have a new house. We're getting really close to closing, and I'm just like super excited to design spaces. So this very much scratches my itch of like home stuff, and so it's very cute. Like you can, like I said, you can expand your rooms. You can uh, choose wherever your rooms go. You cannot place a room over an empty space because it's not structural. It doesn't work. So if you have an empty garage spaces right now, you cannot place those like playrooms over an empty space. That doesn't work. So there is strategy involved, which is very nice. So it's not
So how do
like
you win
too
the game?
basic.
What's the point of this one?
So this one is the collection of points.
Okay.
So depending on how much you expand your rooms, how many decor items you have, the functionality of your house. Like I said, you get points for if you have certain amount of rooms or certain rooms laid out. Uh, I'm trying to think what else. With the helpers, they will help you like either switch out a card and from your home to the game board, or you can switch cards on the game board so you have a better pairing that you want to pick. Um, so yeah, you can have it where if you don't have a place you can put a room, because you always have to take cards. There's 12 rounds because there's 12 rooms, and you always have to take cards. And if you can't place a room in a certain spot, you just flip that card over and it becomes an empty room. So you lose points in that sense. Yeah, like in the roof tiles, you will get points if you have a completed roof, which is 4 roof tiles, and then you get extra points if they match. And then you have like the little windows that give you extra points. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to accumulate points. Pretty simple. Um, Again, just how you plan and place your rooms, because you might not be able to expand all your rooms, or you decide to put like special rooms, like there's a pantry that goes by the kitchen, so you could expand your kitchen twice and then add that pantry, because that's, or I think you have to do the kitchen and the pantry because there's only 2 cards to expand your kitchen. So there's a little bit of little technicalities in there. And the artwork's so cute and pretty. If there's a tie, you count how many children are in your house, and there are little children like sprinkled in the pictures. Like you'll see like a little
Oh,
arm or
okay.
like a kid hiding in the tub or something. So very cute little aspects of the game. So
That's
I've
cute.
I've really personally been enjoying it. I think my husband's like, nah, it's fine. Um, and I know it's like not everyone's cup of tea, but I just think it's very cute. And again, I think it's very approachable and easy for people to pick up.
We got a
So,
good question from John. He asks, would you say that having actual cards and pieces to play this game is far more satisfying than doing a simulation through a computer game from like something like The Sims or
ooh,
something similar?
that is a good question. I think there is definitely pros and cons. For instance, like the cards, they have plenty of different like design cards. So you have different looks of living rooms and stuff. So if you are looking to design your house, I would definitely say simulation, in the sense of, you can choose the furniture, you can choose the paint color and all that stuff. If you were using it, places. The pieces, like the little decor pieces, are really cute that you can like place. But again, it's limited in, these are it. You don't get to choose the style, so it is limiting in that sense. So I would say if you are more into design, I would say go simulation. And then if you just like love home stuff and like board games, then dream.
Gotcha. And then a follow-up here. In a broader sense, is that not one of the appeals of board games compared to computer video games?
What is one of the appeals? What is the appeal? Is that not one of the appeals of board games?
I guess the tactical nature of being able to.
Yes,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always, in my opinion, much more fun to have like tactical stuff. And like I said, I'm looking forward to doing it in real life. But I love The Sims 2 and Animal Crossing. We've talked about this. So yeah, just depending on how controlling you want to be.
Gotcha. I guess all the fine details. It's hard to replicate
Yes,
all of that in a
correct.
board game.
That would be a lot, a lot of
One last question for
pieces.
you, Corinne. Where
Yeah,
did you hear about this game, and how do you hear about games in general?
I think with this one, with Dream Home, just saw a advertisement. I
Hmm.
usually I look up like random lists, like uh, board games that are coming out this year, like top Kickstarters, Board Game Geek. Just go down the hotness, whatever, and then your channel, and then whatever like YouTube kind of brings up for me. So usually that way, and then also through my sister and her husband, because then I don't know how they find out about stuff, but they'll have random games that I've like never heard of, and so um, yeah, it just through different avenues. Usually Board Game Geek, depending, usually like research on my YouTube videos of being like, oh, is there a
Mm.
theme I want to do? Like a lot of people, when I did my 5 aesthetically pleasing board games, so many people, which I'm very grateful for, listed games. They're like, have you checked out this? Have you checked out this? So I have a list of games that people have like recommended to me. And so I've been slowly like researching, because obviously I can't just go and buy all the games, if only. So through that, through the community, through my family, through YouTube, that
Makes
kind of
sense.
thing.
Totally
Yeah,
get it. I know that after starting YouTube, our acquisitions and just knowledge of really niche games has increased
yeah,
exponentially.
for sure.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the third game here. And this is one that I've been playing. And I was talking to Corinne about this earlier. This is a game that I was having trouble finding cons for because I think that it's just such a well structured game. And this is Caper Europe. So this is a
Ooh,
two-player only game. I've only had 2 plays of it so far, but out of those 2 plays, I think this game is really incredible. It's really something. This is a tug of war style game where you play as different thieves that are in Europe and you're going to be doing these big heists on these locations. And you do so through the use of these gear items. So you'll be playing thieves into these areas and then playing items on top of those thieves to get special abilities and interact with the different board states. These items can move these different tracks towards you or towards the opponent. And if whoever has that little track in the center closer to them by the end, they're going to win. They're going to get those points. And then you're going to be vying for the control of 3 different areas, but not necessarily the winner of those areas is going to win the game. So it's all about managing your different thieves, managing the gear that you put on thieves, and then also collecting these different items from the locations that you're stealing from. Because that's the
cool.
whole idea, right? To pull off the biggest caper. Now, the biggest pro that I really like about this game are the cards. I think the cards are just so fun and interesting, and they use each aspect of the game in a well done way. For example, you have the thieves themselves. You're going to be having these cards at your place, and they allow you to actually interact with the location, but you only get a certain amount of them every turn. Some of them are going to give you extra scoring potentials. Some of them give you the ability to move on that center track every time you play a card of a specific color. Some of them will give you just one-time bonuses, and then almost every single thief will give you a certain amount of money as well when you play it. Because how do you play items? By having money to do so. So in exchange for a weaker ability, you may have some incredible amount of cash that you get to use, and that'll push you forward to actually using some of those gear cards in a more interesting way. Oh, it's so cool. And on top of that, the drafting itself is so clever. At the start of each round, at the start of the game, you're going to be putting this big track in the center of the board. And this track has this little thief token on the side that you're going to slide back and forth. And that determines who is going to be drafting first. And it also determines how many cards that player is going to get. And I love this because it's all just printed on the board there. There's no
Mm,
confusion, there's no questions. And this game, I'm sure, has been play tested many a time. So it's pretty dang balanced, or at least at this point, it feels like it is balanced. And I think this is so cool. It's done so well. I'm trying to find a good picture of it here just to show you this track because I think it's just it just makes so much sense. It's so cool. So
Well, while
with
you're
that,
looking for the I was just gonna say while you're looking for the, picture, I love the art style. That's nice.
it,
Something I look forward to. That's just how I look at games. I'm just like, "Ooh, how does it look?" Which
and
is
the cool
always great,
thing
you
about
know?
this is it's also from the same people who did Parks. So the
Ugh,
production is insanely good.
yeah.
So I think that this game is just like leagues better than Parks. So they've taken this
Oh,
design style, this aesthetic approach, and they've made this in super incredible two-player game for it. So this game is
yes.
only a two-player game. There is actually a solo mode for it on BGG that I think actually works really well. So I have played that as well. So technically I have 3 plays of this game. But it is meant to be a two-player game where you're going back and forth with the drafting, and the item cards I think really push into this fun system. Every time you draft your thieves, you'll move on to an item phase where you're going to get 6 item cards, and you either play those items on your thieves or you discard them for cash in order to play item cards in the next turn. But the way the draft works is you have 6 cards, you pick one, play it, there's a set turn order, then you pass your hand to the other player, and you do this back and forth. So you can't anticipate some cards that you're going to be getting. But if you purposefully get rid of a card for cash, you're making sure your opponent doesn't get it either. So you do have some great options when it comes to denying opponents' abilities as well. So I
Mm,
really like the draft. I like the tension that comes from the draft, the tension from just the control of the areas and racing to get to certain positions first. I think the legibility of the cards is awesome because you can clearly look at something and see exactly what it does. And I think that just the graphic design team from Keymaster does a wonderful job with that in general.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
they're
awesome.
very clear and to the point, and it's and artistically done, which is just all I could ask for. Man, you're tempting me. I'm gonna have to talk
I
to my
think
husband.
you should, out of all the games we're talking about here, I think this is one that you should check out the most. I think
Absolutely.
this is above and beyond the best game I'm talking about today, at least.
That's so
The other
awesome.
cool thing about the item cards is they are restricted based on the number of the thieves that you've played. So each thief can only carry 3 items. So if you want to play more items in a specific area, you need to put a thief there. But if you put a thief there, you're restricted on the amount of thieves you could have. You're not playing in the other areas. So you've got all these cool
Mm,
choices on these different places you can be and limits and capacities that you are inflicting on yourself. So much
sure.
agency, so much choice, and the timing of the cards is huge because you have limited cards. Oh, it's wonderful. That can be a neutral for some people, though, is the timing of the cards because you
Okay.
could maybe build out some scoring options and then get them at the wrong time, and that could
Mm,
suck. But that's part of the game, and it's so short. You've got 3 quick rounds, and you don't have to take those cards. It's an option for you. It's not necessary to take those cards. So I like that that is an option, but you may have an issue with that. There also is some similarity between the cards because those icons are repeated. And so that's another thing
okay.
to be aware of. Not every card is unique. This isn't Wingspan or Terraforming Mars. You do have some similarities, which can be a good and a bad thing because not as much variety, but you do have some cool options with knowing that a card may be, oh, I may see a coin card later, or oh, there's a couple of cards left here. I know that one of
Yeah.
those cards could be this red card that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
So I like that
So
that is a thing. Go ahead.
you said it was only 3 rounds, but how
Mhm.
long is the actual gameplay?
The game time is about 35 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
So it's a
So
very short package, back and forth playing. This reminds me of it occupies the same space as something like Battle Line or something like Air, Land, and Sea. But I
okay.
feel in this game, you have a set round structure. Everything is back and forth and back and forth. There's no big resets at any time.
Okay.
You're consistently playing until the end comes. And I think
Nice.
that's so well done because you're constantly engaged. Everything is happening, and you know that the cadence around is going to progress at an appropriate pace. And I love this. I think it's wonderful. I really do think it's amazing.
Mhm.
The last thing that I want to talk about is something that they didn't need to add at all, but they did anyway, and this is the modularity in the sets. So when you play, not only do you get access to the base, the core cards, but whenever you go on a caper, you pick a location to go on a caper on. So our first caper
Nice.
we went to Paris. Paris comes with its own set of special rules and new cards that you shuffle into the different decks. And then you can go play on the next one. Our next location we're going to be going to is Rome, I think, is our next caper spot. But so cool the fact that it's going to change the game every
Yeah.
time you play. It's going to give you new different types of scoring, new ways to interact, new effects, and just new mechanisms in general that are exciting and interesting. So
Yeah.
right now I'm having an amazing time with Caper Europe. I think you got to check this out. I do. I think
I
this is one of the best two-player games I've played in a long time.
I
This is
agree.
awesome. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It has amazing tension. It's great.
Yeah, that's
Gotta get on
awesome.
it. Wow. Caper Europe. Love this one.
Very
Any
cool.
other questions before we move on from this one?
I don't think so. I'm gonna just talk to my husband and be like, "Can I buy a game, please?"
They have them on the Keymaster site. There's like
Okay.
a bundle you can get with the coins and stuff too.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Okay.
if you're gonna talk to him, you might as well talk to him about the bundle.
Yeah, yeah.
We're saving money.
That's right.
Yeah, we're saving money.
Totally. That's awesome.
So that's Caper Europe. Quite impressed, and I want to play more of it. I think it's quite good.
Yeah.
All right, Corinne, what's next?
So speaking of two-player games, I finally played for the first time Fog of Love. And I was super impressed, and like I have never played a game like it. Um and so it was really funny. I played it with my sister. So I was the man, she was the woman, and her husband was also there, so he was like the narrator. He would like read the situations. So that was just like such a neat concept. And like I think a lot of people get a little like because of the role playing.
Mhm.
And while there is some aspect of it, it's not super role play. Like you do not have to. I think a lot of people get really like hung up on that and get like kind of nervous. There are some things that you kind of have to improv of being like, oh, this is my job, and how did I get here? How did we meet? Like things like that. But the gameplay and the way that you work together or work against each other depending on what your goal is as your character, it's just really just so unique. I love the whenever games contain the poker chips. Ugh, poker chips are just one of my favorite like tactile things. Yeah, and I love the different aspects of your personality that you're going for, and you're kind of working to figure out what the other person's personality type is. I was like a greedy, very uptight kind of guy, and she was shallow and something else, so we were a great match. But there's just different, and we did a very easy scenario, and there's scenarios basically where you can't break up, and then there are scenarios where you can, and that adds like different elements to the game. I like kind of tier the tiers of the situations where you have kind of like the honeymoon lovey-dovey, you have, then you get into more serious issues, and then you can the drama of like in-laws and things like that. Just very situational, very storytelling, um, and being able to make decisions and just kind of see how it plays out, depending on what you're going for. Um, yeah, I thought it was just like I said, this is the first time playing it, so I'm not giving a whole lot of the gameplay. I'm trying to, but like it was just such a neat concept, and I thought the fact that there are so many different scenarios and things you can play out is just really neat. So I think anyone who likes storytelling, it in that sense of like role play, then yes, like I think that is it's good for you. But for anyone who doesn't like role play, it's not heavy based on that. Like you don't have to go. You can go as ham as you want, but you don't have to.
I think
Um,
mechanisms wise, it's also very smart. It has a lot of
yeah.
decisions, especially from the very beginning of the game, that I think are very clever. You
Hmm.
start the game off with assigning the traits that you find attractive for that
Yeah.
person by giving them cards. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I loved your glasses, and I love the
Hmm.
fact that you have this curly hair, and oh my gosh, you've got freckles. Let's go. And so you're determining who this person looks like. What's their physical appearance? And as they play the game, game, they could potentially change these things by switching out cards. So the mechanisms feed into the storytelling. I
Mhm.
think this is so cool. And then based on the role playing that the players do, they're able to anticipate what sort of mood cards that they have
Yes.
that's hidden on this player board here that they've got.
Mhm.
It's great. I think it's really good role playing system, and I'm curious to see if this company will take this system and create a different style of game with it. What do you think could be done with this system?
Oh man, I do not know. I was just thinking that. I was like, how cool of a system, but yeah, where would we take it from this like s- taking different
Mhm.
romantic tropes and romantic stories, and then how would we apply this maybe to a different genre? Um Now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if you could do like a horror or something where it's like you are trying to figure out how to escape a situation together, or is one of you a monster, like or how, even if I don't know if it would work with multiple players, not just two. I don't
Mhm.
know how complicated or in the weeds that would get, but yeah,
Oh my
the
gosh, some three-way relationship. Oh, that'd be interesting. I could see that being a thing.
yeah. And I mean,
Oh,
yeah, that would be, I don't know. I think, I don't know. It is so smart and just intriguing with how they've formatted this game. Like I said, I haven't really played a game like it.
I really like the expansions that they've taken as
Mm.
well. There's some really interesting ideas. Like you can see up here, the newest one, Love on Lockdown. How would you survive in a relationship during a lockdown? So you have these
Mm.
cool scenarios that can potentially arise. You have It Will Never Last, where both people absolutely know they're going to be breaking up, or paranormal romance,
Okay, so
where
they've gone a little off.
someone straight up dies in the relationship and you have to figure out how to move on with that. Trouble with the in-laws, which I think is crazy because in addition to your conditions to try to win, you also have to cater to your parents and try to figure out what they're looking for in a
Ugh.
relationship. I'm
So
lucky. My wife's parents are amazing, so I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't have any in-laws issues, so I'm
I
really
don't
happy for
either.
that.
That was not a stab at my in-laws, please don't. Like it wasn't. But it's just the thought of like dealing with like more, like
Yes.
appeasing more people basically.
And it's interesting as a role player. I'm lucky I haven't had to feel with this, but as role playing, I'm not sure how that would feel like having a separate set of people that I have to show. I don't know, also appease, that I'm changing my mood for, that I'm making decisions for, as
Mhm.
opposed to not my partner and myself. It's interesting. I think it's a cool wrench to throw into the situation.
For sure.
There's a lot of cool things here. Now, the
Yeah.
promo cards are just goofy. Generally, they're going to be scene cards that you can just throw in.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that the scenarios are really cool. I think that's a great direction to go in the game. And I'd like to see more scenarios from Fog of Love.
Yeah. I definitely felt like there was like a great amount of variety, and the fact that they have like these expansions for all of
Mhm.
the different situations that you and your partner can experience is just, it's very cool. Like I said, never played a game like it. Um, it's very thought provoking,
I'd
and
agree
so
with that.
I think it's neat. Yeah. So I think the gameplay, I think everything is really neat and very well crafted and like laid out. I think it wasn't too confusing as someone jumping in for the first time. I was just like, oh, okay, I get this.
And this game came out in 2017, and it
Yeah.
had one of the best tutorials ever in a board game that I'd seen
Mm,
at that point. A lot of
nice.
games have done something similar now, where they've added the step-by-step tutorial that you follow through on your first game. But I think Fog of Blood has done it one of the best. There's an
Yes.
actual tutorial deck that you keep, and then there's steps that you play. You play one card, it tells you to move over here, and it really does guide you, and you feel comfortable with the system afterwards. Did you use the tutorial, or did you just, nah, we're just gonna play?
No,
Yeah.
my sister and her husband kind of was just like back and forth, kind of giving instructions.
Oh, so
So
they had played before, yeah?
yes, yeah. So this was the game that they
Mm,
owned.
okay.
And I don't know how many scenarios they've actually played through, because like they were, like I was saying, we started with a pretty easy
Mhm.
one. So at least they've gone through the easy ones. I don't know if they went into more complicated situations where you can like actually break up or divorce or whatever. Um, so Yeah.
It's real, and it's like it's such a terrible feeling because in Fog of Love, you can both win. You can both win by satisfying your
Yes.
objectives. But if one of you is choosing divorce and the other one is like choosing to stay together, you feel that. You're like, I love going on this date with you, and like in the back of your mind, you're like, but I'm gonna divorce the heck out of you next round. Like it's happening.
Right?
And it's
My
like this is a real thing. Like if you've been in a relationship, there are points in relationships where you feel that you are ready to leave the relationship, but you can tell the other person is not, and
yeah.
it does have a very similar feeling. It's wild. Done a good job here blending mechanisms with themes.
Yeah. I will say, I guess, like a con for this game is
Mhm.
that it's definitely not just like a quick, oh, let's pick this up and like play. Like you need to be in kind of a mood, honestly, if you want to deal with like situations or emotions like
Mhm.
that. So I will say but again, it's very well done. And when you're in the mood to play that, it's a great game.
I think that's honestly why it lies at a 6 for me, is because
Mm.
I am going to pull this out at the specific situation. It's going to be me and Ariana. It's going to be a very specific mood, and we got to be ready to do some like this is pretty intense role playing. I think so. I'm I am excited when we do get to play it, but it's definitely a mood you got to be in.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Oh, any other final thoughts before we move on?
Not for me.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the last game
I
here. And
know.
this is a game that I've played a lot in this last week. It arrived on Friday and I played the heck out of it all week. And
Ooh, new
it's just
game.
been a blast. So if you're not aware right now, I am currently in the process of watching puppies. And as so I'm doing quite a bit of solo gaming because I am up late at night. And my goodness, one game that I've been able to jump into a lot is Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, the board
Yes.
game.
I should
So
have known this. Yes.
sorry, one more time?
I said I should have known this, of course, because I've been
Of
seeing it on your Instagram and stuff. Yeah.
of course. So this game is so fun. This takes you as the Dark Knight, and you are playing through The Dark Knight Returns, the graphic novel. And so you're going to be going through quarters, and each quarter represents a villain that you'll be fighting, some objective that they're going to be racing towards, and then you have to do your best in order to not only make sure that Gotham doesn't go into chaos, but also that you're able to. Oh, 1 second. Have you seen The Dark Knight? Give me thoughts on The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh
Gotta
yeah.
go take care of a puppy really quick. Sorry. Be right back.
No, no puppies. Yeah, The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, great movie. If this is the Christopher Nolan one that he's talking about, um, I have not played this game, but it looks super awesome. And I mean, if you're a fan of Batman and that kind of world element, then you can definitely um, jump right into this game and really enjoy taking the like aspects from this game. Um, he was also playing, and I'll mention this when he comes back. Hey, I was just gonna say I was noticing also too that you were playing like the animated Batman, um, like a game.
Like Batman Gotham City Chronicles, maybe?
Yes,
hmm
yeah,
hmm
where it's like in the world of the animated Batman series, right? Or like
It
the element
is.
or the looks. Maybe I'm
I wouldn't say it has the looks. It more
okay.
is in line with just a conglomeration of like
Okay,
everything Batman.
very cool. Yeah, but
All
this
right.
is the other one.
Sorry about that. I had some internet
No.
connection issues and a puppy went crazy. So, as mentioned
Ooh.
before, those puppies, I've been watching them quite a bit. So, I've had these solo games set up on the table, and one has been Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, the game. And this one in particular is so much fun because you are Batman. You are looking at Gotham City and you're deciding how you want to manage all of the different adversaries. You've got the mutants, who are the new upcoming gang, the new power in Gotham,
Mm,
and it's your job to control them. But there's also the police, and there's the press that's stifling all this anger. So, you have to do your best to manage these things because if three of these things ever get into the same area, they will cause riots. And that's sort of your loss condition. If you have too many of these and you need to play another one, you'll lose. They also are just
mm,
in general pretty terrible. The more riots that are out, the harder it is for you to
yeah.
maneuver around the board. And that's one thing that I want to talk about specifically before we even talk about any gameplay is the board itself. I love this thing. So it is this giant board of Gotham. And I love that it's separated into not only regions and colors, and a lot of things are going to identify locations by regions and colors, which I
Mhm.
really appreciate. So it's
Yeah.
easier to find specific things. The board is dry erase. As you play through the game, it's a 4-part campaign. You'll be able to draw bat paths onto the board. And this will help you get around the city. Some negative cards may have you erase things. Some things may make them one-way streets. This is so cool. What a great concept to have a board that changes. It matters because you do have some restrictions when it comes to moving around. And I just think it's such a good idea. You can find like hotspots and points of interest. You can go around specific things. You can play something that's going to be helpful long-term or something that's going to be helpful right then and there. What a great concept. And a lot of information you're going to write onto the board. So they're not specific cards or tokens. It's so easy. You're just like, oh, write this number here. Cool. Got it. Or if you have a reminder, you can take notes on this. It's so awesome. What a great system. Love this board here. The game itself, though, has you playing as Batman. You'll have your character that you'll be moving around the board based on the mission that you play. You'll have a different Batman with different effects based on his progress of where he's in his Dark Knight story. And then you'll move around to the different locations. So you can move to a location, and when you get to location, you'll use one of the effects. So you'll place your character. It's this third of a circle. You'll place them there. And if there's an enemy there, you'll have to fight the enemy before actually taking the action. If you fail that fight, then you are going to have to take no action that turn. Or you can just ignore the enemy and go onto one of the empty spaces. But you kind of want to be fighting enemies all the time, but maybe not because maybe you're dying. So you have some choices here on how much of your health and sanity and stamina you want to actually expend. In addition, you'll have allies that you'll get to move around. In the first mission, you have Gordon. You can send them down to calm down the press, but you'll eventually unlock other characters like Green Arrow or Robin, and Robin is awesome. She's going to be moving around the city and taking out mutants for you, and she can upgrade her own dice and come help you, so she can come onto your character board when you're fighting someone tough, and she'll give you additional dice that you get to roll in addition to your utility belt dice. Oh, it's so cool. So I think that it's just so neat. But the solid core that's really uniting this game is the action card system. I'm looking for pictures here for them, and I cannot find any specific action cards. But you got to trust me when I say it's well thought out and well done. So the concept is at the start of each round, you're going to take 12 of these cards and flip 3 of them face up at a time. 2 of them will go into your hand, and you can use them this round as special abilities. Awesome. Some of them are fight cards, and they'll go in the special fight deck instead, which is great. More effects that you can use. But the last card you don't pick goes into the event deck, and these events are going to be negative things. Coolest thing, though, you get to telegraph and you get to choose what these negative events are. Sometimes you get 3 and 2 of them are not that bad. So maybe you just shove one of those into the event deck. But sometimes you get 3 events that are pretty awful and you have to pick the worst out of those options. Or sometimes you get an event that's not very awful, but the top half is something you really want in your hand because it might help you with the current board state of the mission. So you have a great choice on how you are building the deck. This gives me a lot of feelings of games like Dawn of the Zeds, Nemo's War, where it's a solo experience, a journey, but a lot of this randomness and a lot of these decisions are controlled by you as opposed to just rolling dice or just flipping a card and seeing what it does. You get to flip 12 cards and you get to choose which cards you're going to have to deal with. So a lot of this is deterministic, but most of it has a bit of randomness infused, but it's randomness that you've chosen to elect into. And I love this player-driven decisions throughout, and even at the start of each round. Awesome system here. I love it. This one does exclusively play solo for that mission mode, but it does have a 2-player mode as well with the versus system where you're going to have players going back and forth. And I love Ken's comment here saying that explicit callouts to recommended player accounts. He did make a comment earlier, so I'm glad that he's noticing that. I'm trying my best to include the different player accounts that I enjoy these games at. But this is primarily a solo game, and that mission system is so. So I really like the action card system. I really like the dry erase board. I like that there are upgrades that are lasting from mission to mission.
Okay.
If you do one thing in one mission, you'll carry it forward. And that's another thing I enjoy is that you're going to be juggling those missions. Do I take time now to make sure that I get that objective done quickly so that the board doesn't get populated with terrible people? Or do I take some time and try to upgrade the different dice in my utility belt to get some different abilities?
That's adorable.
It's cute. So these are essentially
awesome.
coins.
Okay.
There's 2 halves on each, but they're just cute. They're batarangs. You flip them, you can upgrade them, you can get super abilities. And I think
awesome.
the combat is really fun.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if it was like a campaign-esque style where it's like your choices impact the next round or next situation.
Yes, totally. And
cool.
I think the fact that it's only a 4-mission campaign is really good because
nice.
you're not going to be spending forever playing it. When you finish, you can set it up again. And that's one of my favorite things is that you have those 2 options. You have the campaign, which is good. I do think that that's one of my cons of the game, though, is that the difficulty of the campaign is pretty easy. So I think the campaign is really, really easy. But that is okay, because there are some positives here in the form of these single shot missions. And you have two options on the single shot missions. You can play a normal one, or you can play an expert one. And the expert ones are going to destroy you. And it's so much fun to feel like this actual tension. And it's really good. The expert missions are probably my preferred way to play this game, actually,
Nice.
because you pick the mission that you really want to play. My favorite out of all of them, I think, is actually I really like the Superman fight at the end. I think that's amazing. He is constantly flying to you, berating you. He's got all these dice, and if you damage him, he doesn't care because he can regenerate them, but you can damage him, which is awesome. So, and that's a good thing because you want to slow him down.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I really like that one. My favorite missions are that one and then the one with the Joker. I think those two are the best ones. They really let you explore the system. And because of these standalone scenarios, you can play them more.
Not surprising for either of those.
It's awesome. I can't pretend it's not.
Yeah.
So I really like the different combats here, and I like that there's this, when you play these small scenarios, you have to pick specific utility belt dice. Normally you get access to all 6 of your dice, but if you're playing the smaller missions, you only get 3 of them. And so these 3 dice you pick are huge because they're going to affect how you approach your different combats. If you pick a lot of blocks, maybe you're trying to not get in as many combats, or maybe you're going to pick a lot of POWs, and POWs are one-time punches. And so it might take more time to kill things, but you're more consistent at killing things. It's interesting. It's so interesting. I really like this game. I think it's really, really good. And we got another question from John here. Wow, seems like the system could be done up for different superheroes in their own setting. And I think so. I think this is just a quality system. I can see a whole line of games following with that simple action card system.
I could see both sides, like DC and Marvel doing this. I would love to see like DC Superman, Green Arrow, Spider-Man. Like, I know that's not DC, but I could just immediately imagine bunch of scenarios, bunch of situations. It would be really cool. I was saying while I was stalling, I was like, is this based off the movie? I can't remember what he just said. It's based off Frank Miller. I do like that they are doing it based off comic rather than like the media. Like the current movies, which are in my opinion.
Did you see the new Batman?
Oh no, I haven't seen that one. Yeah, I'm not.
Go see the new Batman.
Yeah. I've heard very good things about that one. Yeah.
That'll change your tone on that last comment.
Well, I was referring.
I agree though with the Ben Affleck
Justice
stuff.
League and it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Hopefully one day we'll get. Nothing against like Henry Cavill. I think he's a great Superman. It's just the way that Zack Snyder decides to go. So it's not my cup of tea. It's not my DC I grew up with.
I think if you like this approach to Batman, I think you'll really like the Batman.
Yeah.
It has very similar tones of moving past just vengeance and hate, and I think that's really cool.
That's cool.
Oh, this is awesome. And speaking of thematics, the theme in this game is great. That's another one of my huge positives. That's also can be a bit of a neutral for you potentially, because there are small thematic rules every so often, but the core is the same. The core is the same for each mission, and each mission has small thematic rules that may show up, but they make sense in the context of the mission. For example, in the last mission, before you go fight Superman, you're not doing so hot. You're old. You're decrepit. You've been fighting crime. You got to go get a checkup. So you got to go back to the Wayne Manor and get your heart scanned and get monitors put on you. Otherwise, if you don't, the longer you take, you just take damage consistently. So
you're gonna die.
Try to get an extra turn, or do you focus on making sure you check yourself first? So
yeah, thematic elements for me actually are usually they're not usually negative for me. Just because it's like, I really appreciate you going like full out on this theme. Like, yes, please add like requirements or words are leaving me. Requirements are like ways to stop you from like doing stuff. Restrictions. There's the word. Yeah. So I appreciate that in most games, but I can also understand people being like, what?
And I think it's fun. I did essentially a watch. I watched the episode, not the episode. There's HBO Max has all of the Dark Knight Returns. They did an animated version of this story. So I watched that because I'd never seen it before. I only read the comic. So I watched it, played a mission, watched it, played a mission. So cool. Recommend it if you like Batman, if you have this game. That's how I recommend you enjoy it, is just immerse yourself in Batman world. And then when you're ready to start this game, put on the Batman soundtrack and just have a ball. So much fun. I really like that the rule books are gigantic because it's huge. You can really see this. They're really clear examples. It's easy to play. You just follow the round structure. this is one that's you're going to find yourself getting into, playing, enjoying, and then finishing, and then wanting to play immediately again. I really like this game. I'm having a great time with it.
That's awesome. I'm
I wanted
glad
to
that
mention one more negative though, and that
Okay.
has to do with, this is like a very nitpicky thing. As I mentioned before, the locations are nice because they're colored. Some of the event cards will call out specific named locations, and those can be kind of hard to find. It'll be like, find this nightclub, and you're like, where is that? And you'll have tokens on some things, so you have to maybe lift them and try to find something. And so that can be annoying because everything else is so well done graphically and graphically organized. But just sometimes you'll see that and you're like, I have to find it. Like, it delays your play a little bit, but I think it's a very small nitpick. That's something I
Sure.
do want to mention because I don't think there's a lot of big cons for this game aside from the difficulty and that small thing. But it's good stuff here. If you were to have your own theme, going back to John's question, if you were to have your own theme for this game, what would you pick? What movie, what film, what book would you want to put in this system of a solo game? And would you play it solo? Would this be something that you'd approach? Do you do any solo gaming?
I have not tried like specific solo games. I know I have a lot of like Automa in like our Stonemeyer games, which I haven't tried. I've been wanting to try and I just hadn't done it. But no, I would definitely be up for trying it, especially with something like this where it's very themed and very nerdy and just up my alley.
What theme would get you in? Be like, oh, you have that? Let's go. What theme would pull you in the most in this style?
Probably Spider-Man.
Yep.
I love Spider-Man so much. He has such, I mean, and he's very much like Batman, where he has just a great lineup of villains, so many situations and scenarios, and different like allies and sidekicks you can use. That or Superman, honestly, because again, I love Superman, and he has a lot of abilities too. Yeah, I probably Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man so much.
I really like the idea of a Spider-Man game because it's the opposite side of the coin. Because Batman has the resources. Batman has he experienced the traumatic death of his parents, whereas Peter he had his uncle. So I guess that is something very similar. But I think that this would be a cool idea to see this perspective from two different areas. That's exciting. This is cool. Oh man, if they do something like this, they continue this line. And this is Cryptozoic who put this game out, and they're known for taking really heavy IP games that are just filled with IPs. They make like a bunch of Rick and Morty games. They've made the DC Deck Builder. They've made Marvel stuff. They've made like Adventure Time. All of these these IPs in general. So I could see this being a line that they continue if people do receive it well.
Just do the whole Justice League, please.
That'd be cool. Oh,
that would be
a Wonder Woman style of this game. Oh, that'd be sick. You're in, I don't know, wherever. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Maybe Themyscira, maybe not. Like, because outside of there, but
the thing I do really like about this as well is because Batman is in Gotham, that's where the game takes place. You are controlling Gotham. So it's easy to carry that from mission to mission because it's all happening in one place. I'm curious if they would expand the system if they did something like Wonder Woman, maybe have you changing different locations. Maybe, I don't even know if they would make it bigger, like maybe going to different planets if you're Superman. There's sort of cool options here. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, they could definitely remain limited, like within Metropolis, because it's another iconic city.
That's true.
Yeah, or they could go for that. That would be interesting. There's a lot of options.
I agree.
Yeah,
and that's it. Those are our games that we're talking about. Those are our 6 games that we've been playing that we're excited to talk about. Any other games that you're excited to try soon? Things that are coming up on your radar? Things that you've recently gotten in?
Not anything in. Obviously, Caper Europe.
That's on my wish list.
Gonna work on that. Yeah,
I recommend it. I think it's real good.
Yeah, I want to get whenever it comes out, trekking through history. That looks really cool. On your shelf tour, your board game tour. You were talking about Biblios. We played that too. That was really fun. I really like that. Yeah, that's super fun and very easy, and quick. Very nice. We can play like a bunch of rounds. Yeah. Frosthaven, waiting forever for that.
This year sometime.
It's so exciting. The
game that's currently on my table right now that I'm learning is Perseverance, Castaway Chronicles. So I'm in the middle of learning episode 1. This is a weird game where it came with 2 games inside, kind of like Century Spice Road, where you're using the components from one game to play another, and it's a campaign where you finish one game and move to the other, and it shares mechanisms back and forth between the games. You're essentially a group of crews what do you call a person who's on a cruise? Tourist, vacationers, cruisist.
Sure.
You're a cruisist. You're a cruisist, and your cruise ship breaks down in this land of the lost, and you've got these dinosaurs that are populating the area, and it's up to you to get as many followers as possible and survive these wilds. And so right now it's a simple dice placement game. So dice worker
Ooh.
placement. You'll be
Yeah.
drafting from a common pool, putting them onto different areas, and then interacting with these potential attacks of dinosaurs.
I was
And
just gonna
so,
say there's dinosaurs.
yes. And so it's up to
Very
you
cool.
to bolster up your civilization and
Mhm.
then gain different abilities. And the goal ultimately is to become the new leader of this area. And so by getting the most followers, the more people that you have, you're going to outnumber the other people. And you can do
Nice.
that with votes. You can do that by showing acts of bravery. There's cool
Mhm.
stuff you can do here, and lots of really neat characters. It has the Mind Clash patented, super clean graphic design. So it's very easy to look at the
Mm.
icons and read everything. It reminds me a lot of Anachrony, same company. It's really cool. I'm excited. I'm about to start a game. I've about 10 minutes left of. I'm using Paul Grogan. Shout out to him for rules videos. I've got him set up there with the board set out, and I'm just going through it. Like, let's do this. I'm playing some games out. I'm excited. It looks really cool.
Passengers, I think, was the word you were looking for.
You are right. Oh boy. Ooh, yes, this is very important. So, John here, he says that there's a 5-player version of Biblios if you want to play. You just have to have a second set of dice for Biblios.
Oh.
And yes, this is true. They actually remade Biblios into The King and Me. This is
Oh.
the newest version of it.
Okay.
Not as cool. Don't get that one because it doesn't have the dice. It's got these
Ah.
banners. It's a bit more fiddly to change the
Okay.
different controls. So I don't like it. It's not as clean.
Yeah.
But Biblios has that 5th player expansion as a mini expansion, and you just bring a second set of dice. It's cool.
Nice.
I like it.
That is
So
cool.
I think it's a great option, and you can use the things that you already have, which is cool.
Mhm.
Anything else on your radar? Any other things in nerddom that you're excited to explore? Anything you're enjoying right now? Like Moon Knight? Are you watching Moon Knight?
Oh no, we're so behind on our Marvel
Mhm.
and in The Witcher. We're also behind on The Witcher. We're behind on so many things. I have been in an anime kick. It's partially because my sister and I just did like a video, which will be coming out for
Mm.
anime, talking about our favorite openings. So I've
Oh,
been
fun.
really loving Haikyuu, which is a volleyball anime. It is adorable and like the best sports anime because
Hmm.
a lot of sports anime are very dramatic. Like they don't really focus on I mean, they do, but then there's a lot of drama. Like, for instance, the main one I'm referencing is Free, which is one about swimming, but
Mhm.
it's really about friendship. And not to say that Haikyuu is not about friendship, but it's really about volleyball, and it's just very good, very lovable characters, super silly. So yeah, I've been definitely like on a more animated kick. Um, yeah, but no, we have to catch up on all of the Marvel stuff because Multiverse of Madness is coming. So excited for that movie when when that's coming, which I think is
So
May.
speaking of multiverses, oh my goodness! Last night I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is
Oh,
crazy. I had
is
never
that
heard of this movie and saw it and had a blast with it.
yeah? I think that's oh, I can't think of the actress's name. It's like yeah.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
I've seen it like everywhere advertised like it's super good and like super crazy, googly eyes, like
it's cool.
yeah,
I would say try not to know anything going in. Like, do your best to not. Oops. Do your best
nice.
to not. Do your best to not know everything. Anything.
Yeah,
It's a trip. It's so cool. It's so much
that's
fun.
awesome.
Go watch it. It's great. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's awesome.
Go
We
do
also
it.
watched Death on the Nile last night. It was
Ooh,
fun.
what'd you think?
It was fun. Yeah, it's a another great like just Agatha Christie Poirot mystery. We were trying
Awesome.
to like guess. We are like, okay, who did
Did
it?
you
Who's
figure
the
it out?
murderer? I noticed a very key, important like thing, um, clue, and I was like, I think this leads to this. So I knew stuff. I don't want to give away things.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
yeah,
I
I was just
appreciate it.
like, who? Keep it together. Yeah, no, very fun. Great cast. Another good mystery with lots and lots of suspects because Agatha Christie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, another exciting thing. I might have to pause my game of Perseverance. The Sinister Motives expansion for Marvel Champions is delivering today. So I may have to take a break and just play Marvel Champions for 10 hours.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that might be my life today.
Yeah,
We'll
we're
see.
literally like, when Frosthaven drops, our friends and I are just like, we're gonna take off the rest of the week.
This is it. This is my life now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I've played a campaign of Gloomhaven in a week and a half. So it's possible. You could do it.
Dang.
That was during lockdown. So
Oh.
our first campaign took us
Yes.
3 months.
Yeah.
Second one took a week and a half.
Nice.
So it's possible. You could do it.
Definitely.
That's
So
exciting.
excited.
So cool. Sweet. So lots of exciting things to look forward to. And thank you so much, Corinne, for joining me. Once again, please check out Corinne's channel if you haven't. She's got a lot of awesome content, vlogs, game discussions, etc. Any form of nerddom that you think that you'll be excited for. I think there's a lot of cool things to learn about just in general. Anything else you want to add?
I was just saying, we're gonna keep sprinkling more nerd stuff. Animes coming, home stuff, but it's gonna like feature all the nerd things. More board games, more vlogs, more rankings, just everything. I'm having fun posting and exploring all the different aspects of nerddom and making content.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for being here for the live stream, for your questions, the engagement. And if you have any comments or any questions about any of these games that we talked about, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be down there answering different things, and so will Corinne. And thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes, thanks so much.
Awesome. Side Games on, y'all.